Now it's time for Futures in Focus. WTI crude climbing above $70 a barrel. That's as concerns over supply disruptions continue. Let's bring in Phil Streible of RJO Futures at the CME. Let's talk about this oil move because we've got Brent and WTI on the rise.
Yeah, what's really interesting is they're starting to narrow that spread. So the demand has been quite strong for crude oil recently. The inventories have dropped off quite a bit, and this is all despite rising production out of the U.S. and also Saudi Arabia. So it tells you there production's rising, prices are rising, the demand is really picking up. I expect crude oil prices to move up to about $73, especially if we start to see even more reductions on inventory. And if a possible conflict escalates with Iran, tensions have been building quite a bit recently. We could see that move on up to about $80 by year end.
Interesting as we start to see the net longs just pull back a little bit, Phil. Let's move on from one commodity to another. Copper, I mean, it's coming off of its lows, but we are still down about 0.6%. I mean, is it demand fueling the sell-off?
Yeah, copper has really had quite a bit of problems. I mean, the demand has been weakening quite a bit, especially out of China. Their economy seems to be tightening up just a little bit because of the trade tensions and a trade war that's going on right now. There is threat of a Brazilian strike down at the mine in Escanita, and what that might do is that might be the catalyst to start to push copper prices up. But the hedge funds have really been putting the pressure on it, continuing to sell off copper. So we really need to see a justified move over 275, 278 before we start to see longs jump back in the market.
And I'm going to take a move. They're inextricably linked, oil, copper, and of course the US dollar. I'm looking at our function that shows us all the different currencies. And at the moment, I mean, King dollar is on the downside. We're seeing it weaken against every major trading partner here in Europe. What's really driving the dollar down?
The dollar has really had a struggle here. We saw that negative reaction after that GDP number, which was spectacular on Friday. So if the dollar can't rally with good U.S. economic data, it's really going to struggle here. And you've got a lot of central banks that are coming out. They're all starting to turn hawkish. The EU is at the end of its easing. Also, Bank of England expected to raise rates here. So with multiple foreign banks getting hawkish, we're probably going to see that dollar index break below 94. And I think that could spark some more long liquidation.
Are you expecting that as soon as tomorrow, Phil, when we got the BOJ?
Yeah, I think so. And also, Bank of England, I think those two are really going to come out and they're really going to put the pressure on the market here. So the U.S., we're pretty far along in this rate hike cycle. And I do expect 1 to 2 more by the end of the year. But after that, there's going to be a long pause. It has to pause somewhere.